It was one of those cold, gray mornings when life felt heavier than usual. The kind of morning where even the sun seemed too tired to rise. Daniel Reed stood by the small kitchen window of his old, creaking house, watching his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, eat cereal with sleepy eyes. The spoon in her hand was slightly bent, the milk half warm, and yet, she smiled, that innocent, unshaken smile that somehow gave Daniel strength to face another uncertain day. Bills stacked on the counter, the fridge was nearly empty, and the notice for late rent sat like a wound he couldn't heal. He had promised Lily a good life after her mother passed away in a car accident 3 years ago, but promises, he was learning, were much harder to keep when life refused to give you a fair chance. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of love to change lives, then please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness Tales. Your support helps us bring more true-hearted stories to life. Daniel worked as a mechanic at a small garage on the edge of town. The pay barely covered the essentials, and he often took extra shifts just to afford Lily's school supplies. His house, a simple 2-bedroom place left to him by his late father, was his only real possession. But when medical bills and repairs began eating away at his savings, he had to make a difficult decision: rent out the spare room. It wasn't much, a faded blue wall, a small window overlooking the backyard, and an old dresser that smelled faintly of oil paint, but it was something. So, he put up a handwritten notice on the community board: room for rent, safe home, affordable price, female preferred. Days passed with no response. Until one evening, just as the last bit of daylight faded, a gentle knock came on the door. Daniel opened it to find a young woman standing there, shivering slightly from the autumn wind. She was dressed in simple jeans and a gray hoodie, a small backpack slung over her shoulder. Her eyes, bright, uncertain, yet strangely calm, met his. "Hi," she said softly, "I'm Emily. I saw your ad about the room. Is it still available?" Something about her voice, polite, careful, yet full of quiet grace, made Daniel pause. She looked too delicate for the rough world he lived in, too kind for the life that had hardened him. But he nodded, stepping aside. "Yeah, it's still available. Come in." Emily walked in, her sneakers squeaking on the old wooden floor. She looked around the small living room, the worn-out couch, the framed photo of Daniel and Lily on the wall. There was a warmth in the place despite its age, the kind that comes not from money, but from love and struggle shared. Emily smiled faintly. "It feels safe here," she whispered. That night, she moved in. What Daniel didn't know, what he couldn't have imagined, was that Emily wasn't just another college student looking for cheap rent. She was the daughter of billionaire industrialist Richard Cole, one of the most powerful men in the country. She had grown up in luxury, glass towers, private jets, and designer everything. But she had run away from it all, desperate to live a life that wasn't bought for her. She wanted to finish college on her own terms, without her father's influence, without his money. And so, there she was, in a small town, renting a room from a man who could barely pay his own bills. Days turned into weeks. Daniel didn't pry. He respected her quiet nature, her need for space. Emily, in turn, found peace in the simplicity of their lives. She helped Lily with her homework, cooked dinner when Daniel came home exhausted, and sometimes joined them for evening walks through the park. Slowly, a bond began to form, fragile, unspoken, yet deeply real. Lily adored Emily. She would wait by the window every evening, her little face pressed against the glass, eyes lighting up the moment Emily's figure appeared at the gate. They'd bake cookies together, giggle over old cartoons, and sometimes sit by the fireplace while Emily read bedtime stories in a soft, melodic voice that made Lily feel safe again. Daniel would watch them from a distance, heart aching with a warmth he hadn't felt since his wife's passing. He didn't say it out loud, but Emily had brought something back into their lives, a quiet light that healed in silence. But life, as always, had its way of testing fragile peace. One evening, a black luxury car pulled up outside Daniel's house. Two men in suits stepped out, their expressions stern. Emily froze when she saw them. Her past had found her. Daniel came to the door, confused, as the taller man spoke. "We're here for Miss Emily Cole. Her father's been looking for her for months." The words hit Daniel like a hammer. Billionaire's daughter? Cole Industries? He turned to Emily, whose eyes filled with tears. "I didn't mean to lie," she whispered, voice trembling. "I just wanted a normal life. Please believe me." Daniel didn't know what to say. His heart twisted, not in anger, but in fear of losing something precious once again. Lily ran to Emily, clutching her hand. "Don't go," she cried. "You're my best friend." The men stepped forward, but Daniel stopped them. "She's not some property you can just take," he said, his tone firm, protective. It was the first time he had raised his voice to anyone since his wife's death. Emily looked at him, trembling, eyes full of emotion. For the first time in her life, someone had stood up for her not because of her name, but because they cared about her. That night, she had to go, but she promised she'd come back. Days went by. The house felt empty. Lily cried herself to sleep. Daniel went to work silently, trying to ignore the ache that lingered in the corners of every room. Then one morning, as he was preparing breakfast, the sound of a car engine broke the silence. He looked outside. It was Emily. Only this time, she wasn't wearing her old hoodie. She was dressed in a simple white dress, her hair gently tied back, eyes glowing with peace. She smiled at him. "I told you I'd come back," she said softly. She explained how she had stood up to her father, how she told him she wanted to help people like Daniel, honest, hardworking, forgotten by the world. And she meant it. With her father's reluctant approval, Emily started a small foundation to support struggling single parents. Daniel was one of the first to receive help, not charity, but opportunity. She helped him reopen the old garage into a community auto center where he could train young mechanics and earn fairly. The bills were paid, Lily's school fees were covered, and for the first time in years, Daniel could breathe without fear. But more than the financial help, it was the bond they shared that mattered most. Emily didn't return to her old life of luxury. She stayed, close to the people who had shown her what love without condition felt like. The once quiet house became a home full of laughter again. On Lily's birthday, Daniel watched as Emily helped her cut the cake, the candlelight reflecting in their smiling faces. For the first time, he allowed himself to hope again, not just as a father, but as a man who had finally found someone who understood his pain and peace. Sometimes, the people who enter our lives by accident are the ones who change everything forever. Daniel had opened his door to a stranger, but in return, he had gained back the warmth of family, love, and faith in humanity. And Emily, the billionaire's daughter who had run away from gold, found something far richer, a home built from love and kindness. If this story touched your heart, please show your love by liking, sharing, and subscribing to Kindness Tales, and don't forget to comment below what part of the story moved you the most. Your words truly keep these stories alive and inspire others to believe in goodness again. Special request. Speech balloon before you go, please comment below, "I believe kindness still exists." Let's fill the comments with hope and humanity.